So that's really generally, though, I feel you
about Jitterbit, who we are, what we do, and what our products are. Is anybody familiar with Jitterbit at all? Okay, handful of people. Where did you see us or use us? Is it the data loader from Salesforce or? Okay, cool. So we solve kind of three different business problems. We solve migration from legacy apps to either on-prem or cloud integration, cloud adopters rather. Process integration, so integrating any kind of ERP or CRM or database or any kind of disparate data sources. And also replication, so replicating maybe CRM data to your back-end warehouse or something like that. Our company was started about 10 years ago via open source. So the product was an open source product about 8 to 10 years ago. About 2 or 3 years ago, they commercialized the product because they weren't making a whole lot of cash on just services, right? It's not a good business market there. But you can see that I think the most important thing on this slide here is the customer retention rate at 96%. That's a really high rate. We're software subscription, so our retention rate is very important to us because every year we have our customers renewing licenses. So what I'm going to show today is not exactly what is on the screen because my SAP demos broke. But I'll show you the data loader. I'll show you the full Jitterbit Cloud integration product, the enterprise product as well. And we'll just actually jump right into it. Is there any questions so far at all? No? Okay, so let's jump into the data loader. So the data loader, with the Jitterbit solution, even with the data loader or the enterprise product, there's two components to the solution. There's the UI, which you see where you do your development, create your business rules, your integrations between your objects. Not so much business rules in the data loader, but I'll show you a little bit of that. But it's where you develop your business process and your integration rules. And then once you've done that, then the project, which we call as a Jitter pack, is basically a bunch of design components in XML metadata that gets sent to the Jitterbit server, and the Jitterbit server is actually responsible for running everything. That's the same thing with the Jitterbit data loader, but all that complexity is hidden from you. So everything in this data loader here is configuration based. There's no writing code or anything like that. So if we want to actually do like a query against Salesforce, we can just select one of these 5 boxes here, which are SOAP-based web services. So those first 5 are SOAP-based web services, and then the bulk process uses the bulk API. These data operations, so I can create one very easily by just hitting query. It's going to run me through these steps in this header, so login, query, target, and schedule, and it'll give me a summary at the end about what the components that it's creating. But the first thing you'll notice is that you can have multiple Salesforce orgs here. So you can have one that actually accesses your sandbox, you do your design against your sandbox, and then once you run your integration against your sandbox, you're okay with it, you want to run it in production, you just have to simply select or create a new Salesforce org, and you're pointing at your production system, and you can run that same query against it. You can't do that with the Apex data loader today. This product actually uses the partner WSDL as well. So once we've connected and verified our credentials here, the next screen, we're actually going out right now to Salesforce and retrieving all the objects that are out there. So we just went and retrieved the objects. And these are a list of standard objects as well as custom objects, although we do strip away that _C for standard objects. But if you hover over it, like I'm hovering over PMI, that happens to be a custom object, so you can see PMI _C there. So we can handle standard objects as well as custom objects and custom fields. So what you do is you select your object that you want to integrate with. With the Salesforce data loader, one endpoint always has to be Salesforce. The other endpoint will be either a flat file of a local file type, an FTP file, or a Windows file share, or a database. And that's appropriate for the first 5 operations. The bulk process, we don't allow you to pull data from a database. It's an upsell opportunity for us to our enterprise product. There's a couple little places in here I'll try to point out to you we've taken away features to upsell the product. But this product is actually a lot faster even than the current Apex data loader. So what you'll do is you just, similar to the current data loader, you select your fields that you want here, and you can see on the right-hand side that it's building up my query as I'm selecting my fields. So I'm just going to select a few more fields here. Where's my ID? There it is. And then you can also add conditions. So like, I'll add a simple condition where ID is not equal to null, which is always true, right? Because you've got an internal object ID on Salesforce. But you can see how it just adds the query. Now if you have a query you want to post in here, you can cut and post it. You don't have to use that wizard. So you can highlight it and just cut and post it. This data loader does not support relationship queries. Full product does. Another upsell. I'm not sure, does the current Apex data loader, the Salesforce data loader, support relationship queries? Does anybody know? Yeah, because there was a post recently that I read that said it did, and we're trying to decide if we're going to add that feature or not. So I'd be curious if anybody knows.
Oh yes, of course it does.
There you go. Right answer.
I use it all the time.
He caught on. Okay, so once you've built the query, then the next step here is this target step. So like I said, you can do 3 different file types here, an FTP site, a Windows file share, or even a database. I'm just going to do a simple one here and extract it to a local file. And also notice I'm running this on I didn't do that, did I?
Sorry.
Okay. Notice I'm also running this on my Mac. So the data loader runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And the enterprise product runs on the same platforms. Except the enterprise product server will need to run on Windows or Linux. I'm not sure whether we're going to port it to Mac or not, but we ported the server portion of the data loader to the Macintosh because all the Salesforce reps have Macs. So if there's a need for it, we'll do it. Okay, so I've selected the file. Now this screen here is sort of an advanced feature. So what it's telling you is let's say you want to select 3 columns from Salesforce, ABC. The format in the file it's going to write out is column ABC. Now if you want to change that and say write column C, then B, then A, or A and C and delete B, this is the screen that you would do that, because this is basically the format that's going to go onto disk for the file. I'm going to just match it to the query. When I just select next and not change anything there, it's matching the query that I did in Salesforce. So all the fields that I did the select in Salesforce, it's going to match that file format as well. I'll show you that in just a second here, as soon as we hit the finish here. So this is the summary screen where you can go, after you've built this query, you can go and change any of these components. You can change the name of the actual query that's under the data operations tree. This is where you can go and change your Salesforce login to a different login if you want to go from sandbox to production. You can change your query here and also change the mapping. So this is called a transformation page, where you've got a source on the left-hand side. Your source data is on this side. Your target data is on this side. And essentially what's happening here is this side here is Salesforce. I'm pulling data from Salesforce and pushing it into a flat file. And what we've done is we've matched the fields in the Salesforce query with the fields in the flat file. Now I can change those in any which way I want. I can change the ordering, or I can delete fields. And I actually can also do things like I'm going to click on this field, this foreign field, and it brings up what we call our formula builder. You'll see a little bit of code in here, and this is actually where a little place where you can write a little bit of code, or do a little bit of coding rather. So here we're actually operating on this foreign key field. So we're looking at the foreign key field in our target. And let's say we didn't actually have that mapped, and what we want to do is we want to go to our database and look something up. So I can go to the database and actually run a query. This is Postgres. Postgres for getting a sequence. And I can actually test this here in this screen as well. So it's running, what happened here? Oh, the sequence isn't there, I don't think. But I can actually test this and get results right back in this screen for any kind of formula that I build on this screen, and that's going to get assigned to this foreign key field. So if I wanted to do a database lookup like I'm doing here and select some value out of the database and assign it to that foreign key field, that's exactly what I just did. Now you can see There's no longer a mapping between foreign key, the source, and the target. It's just, if I hover over this, you can see that it's just a DB lookup, so it's a function that's applied here. Now I can save this, and then I can actually run this query, and it's going to put the data, it's going to run the query and put the data in that flat file location. So let me just go grab my browser here and go here, and this is the file. And of course, brings up Excel. Okay, so you can see that it pulled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fields here, and I've got like a billing city that has city equals and some other junk in there. And if I wanted to clean that up, I can actually go back to my orchestration, my operation inside here, and go edit and say billing city. And then I can set, I could do a string function on billing city here. Let's say I want to do, I don't know, give me the left. I'm not too good at string functions, but you can do a string function here and grab, instead of the city equals, just grab some part of that string, which is what I wanted to show. And all these functions, you'll notice that there is a subset of functions here, not very many, but in the full enterprise product, there's over 100 of these functions. So under database, you only saw the DB lookup. There's probably a dozen different functions under there, and I'll show you that in a second. And these are also upsell opportunities where this is a very powerful tool, this formula builder, in being able to actually call operations from inside a transformation, or run scripts, or even run plugins. So let's say you're pulling in some PGP data, it's encrypted, you need to decrypt it, do some transformations on it, re-encrypt it, and send it on its way. That functionality out of the box is not available in the enterprise Jitterbit server, but we have a couple dozen plugins that are available. So there's plugins available for that functionality, like EDI, PGP encryption, I don't know, there's a bunch out there. The data loader, and that's another upsell opportunity, because the data loader does not support running operations, running scripts, and most of a lot of these functions that are built in, we've stripped them out. Okay, so let me run the bulk process once and show you the difference between here. So with the bulk process, you got to select your action that you want. I'm just going to do a simple insert or upsert. And you can see at the top, these are the wizard steps: action, login, object source mappings, and schedule. And that was another feature in here that the Apex data loader doesn't have, is the ability to schedule operations. So you can create these data operations and then have them scheduled on a particular basis. Let's say you want to synchronize data every day at 9 o'clock in the morning. You create the operation, then you'll create a schedule down here. In this case, I had created one that said every 60 seconds, and then this schedule gets assigned to one of the queries, either query or upsert or one of these things. But here's where it's done. So I can actually select that and say, run this thing every 60 seconds. Now if I deploy this, it's going to run every 60 seconds, not what I want to do tonight. But the schedule could be anything. It could be run once a week, one every other day, once a month, something like that. So let me go back to the bulk process here real quick, and we'll create a new bulk process query. We got that already. And do an upsert. Same sort of sequence in all these operations. You'll go through the login and select the object. Again, we're going out and retrieving the objects. I'm going to select the account field and use the ID as the external ID field. And then I'm just going to load it up from my flat file. So browse. And I'm not even sure if this is going to... So here's a sampling of the data. I'm not sure if this is going to be successful or not, because I think some of my IDs have changed. But this is actually a good way to show you a couple other features of Jitterbit. So this is a difference between the other 5 data operations that use SOAP Web Services, is that we don't automatically map these fields. We'll allow you to map them, but it's a direct mapping. So you'll notice that these lines are black, the other lines were red, and you can click on them and go and edit them. These are just, with the bulk process, we're only allowing you to do mapping. So we're not allowing you to run functions, operations, or scripts or anything like that. So it's just direct mapping. You can't manipulate any of the fields at all. So I'm going to just map a few fields here, and we'll see if we'll run this thing. And then what it's going to do, oops, let's see. What it'll do is it'll produce, you can see a sampling of the file that we're going to upload. What it'll do is produce a success and failure file. So even if it's not successful, we'll see what failed and we'll see why it failed. And then if we need to, we can actually write that file out to another location, make changes as to what was successful or what failed, and then change it and run it again. So in this case, we were all successful. So we had 11 records that were successful. If we want to look at that and see whether they're actually inserted or created, at the end of the status is that you can see that the item was updated. So none of these were actually created as new records, which I think should have failed anyways if it would have. But if there were failure records, you can view the failures just like we viewed the successes, and then you can actually write that failure file out somewhere. So that's a quick overview on the data loader. Are there questions on the data loader?
Sorry if I misunderstood this, David. So is this data loader free, or is
this data loader is free? It's available on Salesforce.com right now as a download. Salesforce came to us in November, I think, of last year, said we're sunsetting our data loader. We want to partner with you. Can you create a data loader for us? So, a bunch of contract negotiations. Here we are with the data loader for them.
And that I want to run every 60 seconds, I can do that for free?
Yep. Yep. All these features are free. The whole thing is free, and there's no license associated with it, so you can grab it and store it and run it forever.
It's on AppExchange, right?
It's on AppExchange, yep. Yeah, I think that the way it works, I think that's a link over to our site. But you go to AppExchange, you can either go to AppExchange or you can go directly to our site and download it.
It's also available in Salesforce, so if you go to Setup, it's where the data loader is now. You can download it directly from within Salesforce. Yeah.
Okay, that's new.
Yeah, that came out about a week or two ago, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might have mentioned this before. I don't know, like, so what kind of volumes of data can you?
With this, we've tested up to 1.3 million records an hour with the data loader. If you're going to ask me what the record size is, I don't know.
And how long would that take to process?
About an hour to load those, yeah. And it really depends on your horsepower. I mean, data loader, as well as our enterprise product, is not an appliance. It's just a piece of software you load up either on your Rackspace instance or your Amazon EC2 or your personal cloud or on-prem. So, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Is there a deployment option into the server instance that would run the scheduled operation?
There is. When you hit the run on this screen here, it actually, behind the scenes, it's deploying the project and running it. There's a couple things that I didn't show you was the monitoring and managing portions down here. You saw the operation monitor pop up down here at the bottom, and if I double click on that, you can see how long it took. It took 5 seconds to run, and that includes logging into Salesforce, grabbing the records, pulling them back, pushing them onto a flat file, and logging out. And you can see how many records were processed here. The other things you can do under monitor, so there's different logs that are associated with the operation, so you can look at different operation logs. The system queue, the way the Jitterbit architecture works, and I have a PowerPoint on this. If we got time, I'll show you. But the requests come in through a web service interface. It comes through a custom Jitterbit Apache server. It's then sent to what we call a Jitterbit work queue, and the Jitterbit work queue takes that operation, persists it to a database. Then what happens, either the operation runs immediately and it goes to the process engine to run, or the scheduler will interact with the Jitterbit work queue and tell it when it needs to actually run the operation. So that's kind of how it runs. This is the Jitterbit work queue. There's nothing running on this laptop right now. That's why there's nothing here. You can actually see what has run last couple runs today. Under manage, you can start and stop the Jitterbit server behind the scenes. You can start and stop the scheduler. You can see what schedulers are associated, what projects and what schedulers are associated with those projects. There's nothing deployed here right now on this server. And what is scheduled to run, or you can go to a particular day and see what's scheduled to run that particular day. And then we have support for proxy. If you need to go through a proxy in order to get to Salesforce, we have a proxy setting here. So let me jump into the full product here, and you'll see the differences on this. And I think I got about 10 minutes. I'll try to go through this in about 5 minutes and leave about 5 minutes for you guys to ask questions. So this is the full product. Same sort of layout, pretty much. On the left-hand side, under this Design tab, are operations. So instead of data operations, we labeled them operations. You can actually look at these operations. So if I wanted to see, and you can nest these, like I put them in folders and stuff like this. So if I wanted to look at these operations, here's a sequence of operations that are linked together. See, each one of these folders is an operation, and then you've got activities within the folder. In this particular folder, if I right-click it and look at the type of activity that it is, I can see that it's a script. So this is actually 2 scripts that are running, controlling these other operations. And if I look at the script, I can see that the wizard actually wrote this code for me, so I didn't write it myself, but you can see the password, and here's some run operations to run a particular operation to log into Salesforce, and if that fails, it cancels the chain of operations that would happen. Let's see, back to operations, and then from this second script, we're running the login operation. Then we're running all these other operations here. So I've got them listed out. So the first one is to reset the sales. This actual project here is an integration between Salesforce and SAP. It's my SAP demo's broke, otherwise I would demo this. The instance is down for some reason. But what we do is, in Salesforce, if you create an opportunity that is less than 100%, and then you go in and add some products to it, well, first off, we synchronize the accounts between SAP and Salesforce, and then also products. And then part of it is creating an opportunity in Salesforce, adding some products to it, marking it closed won. When it's marked closed won, a workflow fires on Salesforce, which calls into Jitterbit. Jitterbit has exposed some web services. We can expose SOAP and REST-based web services. So it's exposed the web service that Salesforce is calling into, delivering that workflow data to us, which is the opportunity information and the product information. Then I go into Salesforce and create. That's this step here, the third step. So this is actually this 2.1 is a hosted web service. You can see the hosted name there, but it's a hosted web service. And the last 2 transformation activities are the data coming in from the web service and the response back to Salesforce, acknowledging the packet. Then we take that data and I go into SAP and create an account or an order in SAP, grab the internal order information, go back to Salesforce and update the account information on the opportunity. So it's a bidirectional synchronization. That was a mouthful. But for some reason my SAP instance is down. So these are operations. They can be linked together upon success and failure. So we have success and failure operations here. These are linked upon success, so we're going to the next operation. When that's successful, we go to the next one. So you can link these together. These operations, as I said, can be exposed via web services. So we have the ability to be a consumer and a provider of SOAP-based web services as well as REST-based web services. So we can create these operations, and then I can say expose this operation as a web service. And I've actually done that here. Let me go to, this is actually running up on a remote machine. If I know the password, okay. And on this remote machine, I've got an instance. Let's see here. I'm going to show you something. So exposed on that same system, I've got something that basically does what we call a mashup. It pulls data from Salesforce and doesn't persist it anywhere. It just throws it into an iframe in a browser. So you may want to do this in cases like you're buying something on Amazon and your shipment sends out and you want to see that shipment in that same screen. They can embed the UPS or the FedEx number right in there, and you click on it and it kind of pops up right in an iframe in there. This is the same kind of concept. So we can grab, I've got buttons exposed here, and this is all through Jitterbit exposing this. But I've got a button here that exposes the accounts. It's gone and pulled the account information here. Not all of it's very nice looking. Not all the fields were filled in. And then if I wanted to look at accounts, I click on accounts. It's going to go out to grab the accounts or the contacts for these accounts here. And there's the contacts, and I'm also displaying that in an iframe. So this is just running another project that has operations exposed as web services. So we can do that as well. I probably need to wrap up here real soon. Where is that? So let me go through the rest of my slides here. Just got about 4 slides. So these are just the differences between the two products, a little bit of differences between the two products. If somebody wants another slide, I have another slide that actually has a little bit better comparisons between these two products as well as some of our competitors and what options that they offer as well. So if somebody wants to get that information from me, let me know, drop me a business card and I'll get you that info. In terms of native connectivity, we connect to a lot of different protocols as well as data formats, and even actually there's more data formats than that because we can connect to JSON, or we can produce JSON as well. Internally, it's all XML, but we can produce native JSON as well. So if you're calling a web service that requires JSON, you can do that. This is the architecture slide that I was talking about a little bit. So you got both products here, the Integration Studio and the Data Loader, the Enterprise product and the Data Loader product. Both talk to the same kind of architecture, the data server architecture below. So everything's coming in through this web services layer. It goes down into this message queue where the operations are persisted into a database. Internally we use Postgres for the Enterprise product. For the data loader, we're using a different internal database, SQLite is what we're using. So once it's persisted in that message queue, if it needs to run immediately, it goes to this process engine and it goes through the sequence of connecting to the transport, SSL, kind of encryption, decryption, doing the data conversions into a canonical Jitterbit format, and then doing the transformation on that data. And the transformation is really just converting one type to another. It doesn't care what the source or target is, and then it sends it back out to the client. And we've also got a connector framework here that allows us to plug in new connectors. So connectors for NetSuite, for Microsoft CRM, NetSuite, a couple other enterprise products. We're developing some plugins for those as well as the framework. And let's see. I think that's it. So if you find out a little bit more, you can go to jitterbit.com/try or follow us on Twitter, and I'll open it up for questions. Okay, he's had too much beer.
All right, well, David's given us a $100 Amazon gift certificate that we're going to have a drawing for. So does everyone have their business card in here? Anyone want to get in last minute? Sure. I promise you only get one email a day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here, let me put mine.
The marketing team said you cannot win this.
All right.
You spelled
Oh, did I throw one out? That's the winner. Okay, here it is.
Jenny Jurasek? Oh, all right. Good. Great.
Days become these names.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks. And next up we have, I'm going to butcher your name, but Jelle van Juns?
Yeah, something like that.
Close. From Decisions on Demand. And I'm excited to have Jelle here. He's launching a new business rules engine. I don't know, tonight's the worldwide premiere, I'd like to say, but I don't